Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series, where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Paulina. I am the community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for this webinar. And today we will be talking about adding video to your course, and we will discuss two options available. We will talk about doing this through PowerPoint features and also through iSpring features. We will also talk about pros and cons of each method. And also, guys, I would like to ask you to prepare your questions because it's a great opportunity to address them to our presenter. And as a presenter, I have invited Mark Simon, who is a principal training consultant at Highmark Solutions and also an iSpring user. Mark has 25 years of hands-on experience with design development and delivery of e-learning and instructor-led training. And today, Mark will lead our webinar. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Hi, Paulina. Thanks very much for the introduction. Doing well.
Awesome. And also, I would like to share great news with everyone who can sit through the whole session for some reason. It's been recorded. So, guys, no worries. You will receive a link to a replay sometime after the webinar. However, I'd like to encourage you to stay till the very end. Like I said before, it's a great opportunity to address your questions to our presenter. And to do that, please submit them in the question box, which you will find on the right side of the GoToWebinar panel. I also have my colleague Anna from Technical Support Department who will help us with any questions coming in the chat during the session. Anna, thank you very much for joining us today. Okay, so at this point, I think we are ready to begin. So, Mark, I will pass the mic over to you as
O-
well as the presenter rights.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks so much, Paulina. And
Sure.
hello, everyone. Let's see. So I'm going to get rid of my webcam. Webcam was closed by organizer. Thank you very much. Okay, and hopefully by now you can see my screen. Paulina, I'm sure you will chip in if there's anything that you cannot see. So we're going to talk about adding video content in PowerPoint and also how to add the video content in identical method, I guess, or getting the identical results of sorts with iSpring. So both of them have features for inserting video. Both of them have features for recording doing screen recordings, and there's actually pretty significant difference between them. But I think it's beneficial to know both of those options, and then trying to have some sort of philosophy for deciding which one to use in what situation. Okay, so first of all, I want to say a few words about my use of iSpring. I'm an independent consultant. I work out of the Boston, Massachusetts area in the United States. And I've been doing this, as Paulina said, for like 20, 25 years, 30, 35 years. I'm getting older and older. But I use a variety of different tools based on what my client wants and so on and so forth. But I really do love using iSpring. And I love actually giving iSpring advice to people that I work with because it's such a simple tool to use. You can do rapid development and get your work done very quickly. The learning curve is very short, so you don't have to spend a lot of time learning it. And most of all, for me, it's reliable. When I use iSpring, I always feel like, okay, I'm basically producing my content, and it basically will publish and produce exactly what I've tried to get within the tool with a minimal amount of disruption or surprises, let's just say. Um, Now, I was going to actually mention that I've used one other feature of the tool, and I'm just curious to know from this audience out here. I know we've got a pretty large group out there. I started using Flip, iSpring Flip, and I don't know if anybody's actually used that. I've been working with a pharmaceutical company now for the last 2 years, Vertex Pharmaceutical in Boston, and I've worked with many different pharmaceutical companies. And what we found is that actually for a lot of their documentations, their standard operating procedures, their work instructions, they're all based on PDF. And using Flip has actually been really handy for me lately. So just curious to know, and maybe we can do a chat on this. Has anyone discovered any of the other tools from iSpring and are using any other of the tools, Quizmaker, for example, or anything else like that? So maybe if I look at my chat window, I'm going to open up my chat window over here just to see if we've got any responses.
So Eric says no, actually not. David says yes, Flip.
Ah, another
And
Flip user.
says, yep, all new to me. Stephanie agrees, yes, Quizmaker for prescription verification. Josie says the whole suite. Oh, Crystal says never used Flip.
Okay, okay.
I use the screen recording but do not know about Flip, says Sam.
It's such an easy tool to use. It's more clever, I think, than anything
Mhm.
else. It's a fairly simple tool, but it'll convert any MS Word file or PDF into just a little flip book. Um, and you know what we've done when we go from one version of a document to another, you know, we have to basically make sure everybody's up to date on all the changes. So what we did was we just went into MS Word, we basically highlighted all the different changes, the pages with little labels of what changed, and then we basically published to Flip. So it's a really good experience for you know, the end user for the to learn changes in a document or even to flip through a document in kind of a different way. Okay, so that's just kind of an aside. Um, so let's start in and start working with just normal PowerPoint insert video. And I'm going to do this for basically the first two slides. I'm going to go first of all into the PowerPoint insert video. I'm sure many of you have done this with the insert ribbon in PowerPoint. Go over to video. And by the way, I'm running Office 2016. Not sure what version everybody's on, but just to let you know that part. So I'm going to select from the videos that I have. I have two different options here. I have one video of my dog, which I'm not going to bore you with. And then I have another version here of just wildlife. It's kind of a generic sort of video. And when I do insert video through PowerPoint, uh, I can see these animals running. It's just, again, for purposes of demonstration, it'll suffice for our discussion. And I'm going to make it full size, and then I'll move it to the back, just so we can see a little bit about, maybe this would look a little bit better if it was in a different color, maybe getting a little picky here. And so one of the things that you'll want to do with video is, first of all, when you go from slide, when you come into the slide with the video, you may want this video to run automatically. Okay, by default, PowerPoint's not going to run this automatically. So if I select the video and then go into the playback ribbon, which only shows up, by the way, if you do have the video selected. If you don't have the video selected, let me click outside the video, you'll notice that ribbon is not available. But once I do click on the video, I'll see two different ribbons show up inside PowerPoint. One of them is playback. Okay, again, a very simple process to change it to automatically play when I come there. In click sequence means the learner is going to have to click on it to start it, but I can click on automatically, and that way when the learner comes to it, it's automatically going to start playing. It also has a trim video option, and I was actually fairly happy that they did this. It's somewhat primitive because it's only going to allow me to trim the ends of the video. So if I did want to trim the middle, I'd have to do a little bit of trickery. And just to let you know that the trick to this, if you really wanted to trim the middle portions or the, you know, a portion within the middle, is you would probably want to duplicate the video. And so now I've got three different copies of the video running here. And on the first one, I could come in and I could trim video, and I could basically trim it to a certain point, and they do have the ability to put in an exact spot. So I could take the first 15 seconds, and now it's only playing for the first 15 seconds there. And then as long as I don't have a slide transition, I can then start this next video at 15 seconds, right? And of course, now it's just going to play like a normal video. But again, if I had to clip out between, let's say, 15 seconds and 20 seconds, then I would start this thing not at 15 seconds, but I would start it at 20 seconds, something like that. Again, it's a little trick to try to trim the video, and maybe from your learner standpoint, they would never know that this thing actually was trimmed in the middle. But it's a clunky way, if you will, of trimming a video. At least for the middle part, okay? But doable. So, if again, you're trying to get something done in PowerPoint, or you're working with somebody in a different department who only has PowerPoint, I think everyone should have iSpring. But, if they don't, then that's at least one way that you can accomplish that. So I'm going to go back into my trim video, by the way, and I'm going to make sure that this thing runs the whole way. Now, the next thing you might want to do within a video is to put a little text call out at certain points during the video. And again, through PowerPoint, very simple, fairly straightforward. I'll start out with a little object down here, and I'll say that this is going to be a text call out. And in fact, if I wanted to do a little arrow, potentially, I've been playing around a little bit with another one of the PowerPoint features and combining shapes. I don't know if you've done this one before. This is totally an aside, but if you have two shapes and you want to make them one shape, if you haven't discovered this, it's actually a very fun thing. So off of the format menu, at least starting with 2016, and it goes back to 2013 also, but you have to find it in a little bit of a different way. Under merge shapes, I can go into union, okay? And now I've got basically one shape there. If this may be a horrible example of really a shape that you would like, but nonetheless. So let's say this is just, we'll call it item number 1. And then I'll make a couple of these with duplications. And this one will be number 2. And this one will be number 3. Okay. So at some point, you're going to want to point to item number 1, and then you're going to want to point to item number 2, and then at some point, item number 3. Okay, so the way to accomplish this, there's a couple of different ways to do this, again, with the PowerPoint-based tools. The first thing is you want to go to the animations ribbon and have these things come in somehow. So either, let's do a wipe, and we'll do wipe coming in from the bottom. And then once they're animated, I'll go ahead and turn on the animation pane, and you'll be able to see over here in the animation pane that these objects are all listed here. I'm going to change those over to start with previous or after previous. I think either one of those will be fine. And what I will need to do is I can do it in a couple of different ways. The first one, let's see. I know it's a little hard to keep on pointing at that, so I'm going to keep my ribbon up here. I always keep the ribbon, or often keep the ribbon just minimized because it takes up so much vertical real estate. But over here, I can just delay it. Okay, so I can say, okay, I want to delay this by 5 seconds. Okay, and then item number 1 is going to come in 5 seconds, and I could do a delay of 10 seconds for the next one and 15 seconds for the next one. And that's okay, as long as you don't have a video that's over a minute. If by chance you want to take in one of your animated pieces and have it come in after a minute, like let's say 70 seconds, watch what happens to the delay when I press enter. It goes back to 59 seconds. Okay, so that's because PowerPoint's delay feature for the animation can only be done up to 1 minute. Okay, so my recommendation, don't use it. Use bookmarks instead. Okay. Oh, well, how do you use bookmarks? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what we're going to do now is basically take advantage of, we've got a video, and then off the playback menu, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, I have add bookmark. And if you folks haven't done add bookmark recently or at all, it's a pretty easy tool to use. So basically what you're going to do is come over here in the timeline and go to whatever point that you want. You know, you can use it, you can slide this slider up and down. You'll notice that the timing is basically showing above it. So let's say every 5 seconds, I'm going to put in a bookmark. All right. And there's bookmark number 1. Let me come around 10 seconds or so, and I'll put in bookmark number 2. Whoops. It's a little touchy, I will say. So I'm going to remove that bookmark, come back in here to 10 seconds. Let me add a bookmark there, 15 seconds or so. Doesn't matter where it is exactly. And I'll add a third bookmark. Okay, now those bookmarks are going to be where I put in my animations, right? And it's actually fairly simple, but what I'll have to do is basically select my first one, go to my animations menu, and then I'll have to basically get this to show up through a trigger. And if you haven't used animation triggers before, they're a great tool to use for a variety of different things, including bookmarks. Okay, you may have used them to basically trigger some piece of information to come up after the learner is going to click on some item. And that's actually a very handy thing and a very nice way to get interactivity from an instructional design standpoint. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the bookmark area, and I want this object to show up at bookmark number 1. Okay, and you notice down here it's going to put it down into the trigger area. I'll select the second one. You know, you can click, by the way, on the object itself or click up here in the animation pane. And then I'm going to select bookmark number 2, and I'll select the final one, and bookmark number 3. Okay, so now I've got this, and I wonder if it'll actually run. I guess that would be the actual test, wouldn't it? So what I want to try to do now is to see if it'll run. I can either go into presentation mode to test this out in PowerPoint, but unfortunately I'm using 2 different monitors. I don't know if anybody's run into this. When you go into presentation mode and you have multiple monitors, I think PowerPoint just has a mind of its own. And so in this case, it was going to the wrong monitor. I'm going to use iSpring's preview feature, and I'm just going to preview the selected slide to see how we did here. Fingers crossed. Okay, so here's my horses running, and I should see my little call out come first, 5 seconds. Second one with a little luck, 10 seconds. And the third one should come in at 15 seconds. Right? Pretty simple. Well, maybe not really simple, but fairly simple. Again, you have to use the bookmarks to really get your coordination. I'll throw one other little thing out that's somewhat unfriendly. If you decide, okay, you know what, I need another object that's going to come in, and I'm going to put it between 5 and 10 seconds, and then I put in the bookmark. Let's see, sorry, go back to playback, and I put in a bookmark. Guess what bookmark? Oops. Guess what bookmark this is? That's bookmark number 4. Okay, so now my bookmarks from left to right go at 1, 4, 2, 3. It's a little quirk. The left side of my brain doesn't like it. I would rather have it go in sequence somehow. I would rather have some control over it, I guess. But just to keep in mind that sometimes what you're doing is if you have an object that's going to get assigned to this bookmark, when you select the bookmark up here in the animation trigger, you're going to actually have to put it on bookmark number 4. You're going to have to make sure you know the sequence of it and so on and so forth. So again, doable, fine, but again, has a couple of clunky parts, I will say. So let's go and start to do iSpring. Are we ready to switch gears? Okay, so I'm starting off in iSpring exactly the same way that we started out with the PowerPoint feature. I have basically the video. I have the bookmarks, but I'm not going to use bookmarks, okay? Because iSpring's got a much better feature. Uh,
Sorry, Mark, for interrupting, but I just
sure.
wanted to ask two really quick questions.
Yes.
So Joe is asking, can't you move that bookmark in the selection pane?
Excellent question. Okay, sorry, I should have mentioned that also. Absolutely not. These bookmarks do not move. You click, you drag. As far as I know, if you know a trick, you can tell me. But they don't move in the pane, which makes it like difficult. Like if I put it in the wrong spot to begin with, it's at 5 seconds. Oh, you know what? I wish this was at 4 seconds. You can't just click and drag. You can do that in iSpring, by the way, just as a preview when you set up your animation clicks. It would be great if they had that capability, but as far as I know, there's no way to do it. And the only um, bookmark features is add it or remove it. I wanted to move it, I wanted to change it, I wanted to change the number. Uh, I looked over here in the selection pane because I thought, well, let me rename bookmark number 1 and bookmark number 2 after they get the 1 and the 4 and the 3 and so on and so forth. But in the animation pane, you can rename the objects on your screen, or the selection pane, I'm sorry. But you can't rename bookmarks.
And Stephanie is saying, can't right click?
On the bookmark,
I think so.
yeah, so no, I'm right clicking right now and all I see is the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks,
sure,
Mark.
sure. Okay, so now with iSpring, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about triggers. You don't have to worry about bookmarks and things like that. And by the way, you'll notice over here in the animation pane, I've also already got the video itself with the play thing and then the pause. That happens automatically when you basically insert the video. So what I'm going to do for iSpring, though, is I'm going to go into iSpring Suite, and their synchronization of both audio and any sort of animation is done through Manage Narration. So when you go into the Manage Narration dialog window, I should say, it's not exactly a box, it's a little bit more full featured than that. Um, I can see that on my next slide, I've got a bunch of stuff that I probably should be there because it's supposed to be blank. Another story. So I got my objects down here. All right. So what I can do is I'm going to focus right now on these three, and then I'm going to come back to the insert video in just a minute. But I can go in real simply to synchronize these animations coming in. So if I click on the sync button, I get my dialogue changing just slightly, and I can start my synchronization just by clicking on Start Sync. And you may have already done this with a variety of different things. And then when I'm ready at 5 seconds and then 10 seconds, I can just click this magic button over here. And then when I'm all done, I can click on Stop. All right. And nicely enough, and you may know this already, anytime that I decide, you know what, I want to get that to come in just a little sooner, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit sooner, you can shuffle these things around as much as you want. And very, very easy to control, very easy to get the synchronization done. Now, um, one of the other nice things is recording audio. So you notice that I got a music track running. So what I could do for audio, if I decided, okay, on top of the horses running and that little music that runs in the background, I want to do a record audio capability. And so what I can do there is basically start the recording for the audio. So in this case, I'm basically walking through and saying, okay, these are horses, okay? And then I'm saying, these are birds. I'm sorry, I'm not a nature person, I guess, or should be more of one. And then these are another animal, okay? Um, and then click on stop when it's complete, okay? And you notice down here, um, sorry, I'm getting the audio coming in. It's a little bit distracting, but you notice that okay, I forgot to click on the animations as they came through. So what I have to do uh, is come back here and I have to do the animations. Well, do I have to do this all over again? No, actually I don't. I can go in here and I can move these again, the animations around to different spots and basically make sure that my animations are set to come in at the times where I want them. And of course, I can listen to the audio also. And then listening to the audio, if I right click down here, I can edit this clip, I can change the clip, I can mute it, so on and so forth, or delete it. And when I go into edit for this, um, if I decide that I want to clip out anything, I can delete it. I can insert silence. I can adjust the volume. And I've always loved the volume control in iSpring. Just nice and easy to see exactly where I'm going with this. If you've used Audacity as a tool, it's got some really funky numbers, and you're always going, okay, I think I'm going to put in a 6, and then you don't know what you're going to exactly get. Um, but it's a very nice control for again inserting audio over the music and so on and so forth. Now, instead of the audio, and I'm just going to delete this clip now, although I could keep it. I could record video as well on top of the video. All right. And so the recording of the video in this case will allow me basically to have a little video clip of myself if I want to make this more of an instructor and more personalization. And personalization is becoming more and more important for us. Um, so what I would do in this case is start the recording. And in this case, I'll try to actually do the animation as we go. So basically now I've got my talking head and I can click on the animations as we go through and the animations are going to come in. And so I'm clicking the animations and I'm hopefully adding a little bit of information about all these wonderful animals that are on the slide. And then when I'm done, I click on done. Okay, so now I've got my little video clip here. And I can come in here also, by the way, to this volume clip on the video, and I can come in just as I did with the audio and do the same sort of controls by clicking on edit. And I've got all these different options there for putting in or modifying that video. So let's see what we've got here. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And then this is, once we do the little preview here, we're kind of done with this portion. I'm going to show you one other trick though after we get through with this. I'm going to go ahead and save this because I like to save every once in a while just to clear cache. Okay, so this one looks very similar, you can see over on this side, to the one that we had before. But when I do the preview of this, what I should see is not only just the video running, but I'll also have a little talking head or a little friendly, hopefully, face that goes along with the content that you're presenting or the video that you're presenting. So if you're in education, um, one of the things that there's been complaints with the new digital literacy and digital learners that we've got. I know my wife is in education. She's a technology director for a school system, a K-12 school system, and the personalization of just or impersonalization of a lot of the things that are being done by young people and even in the college level, let alone corporate, it is nice to have the little personal touch. And so if you have a video that lends itself to having some guidance and then having a personal touch of guiding somebody through, it really is nice to have the webcam. Uh, you shouldn't think of it as um, oh well, geez, somebody just wants to see their face or wants to hear themselves talk. It really is a nice touch for digital learning to be able to add a face to the lesson and the instruction. So questions on that? Everybody pretty clear on how to do that? That was kind of the basic video for iSpring, and I'm going to show you one other potential trick that you can have for the lesson. Doing well so far?
Yep. I think all the questions that will come from this point we will cover during Q&A session, and Anna has been really helpful so far. So I
Great.
think you can proceed.
Sounds great. And I'm keeping an eye on the clock, by the way. I promise I will not run over. I'll be talking for about another 20 minutes, showing you some really cool stuff inside of Camp Pro, iSpring Camp Pro, as well as the comparison of the screen recording feature inside PowerPoint. So one other very nice option that you would have for inserting the video is actually when you're in iSpring, you can go into manage narration, uh, back again to where we were before. And instead of actually having the video there, you can see I've got a blank screen right now. I can add the video. Okay, so before I was sticking to sync and recording an audio and recording video to kind of enhance or to go along with the video that was already inserted. Well, here I'm going to insert the video in this narration spot. Okay, and we get a couple of choices here. First of all, you can do it at the beginning of the slide, which is the normal, or you can do it at a certain cursor position if you don't want it to come in right away. Um, kind of a nice touch. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in from the very start. And I can see it came in as a video. I can do all those same controls as before. If I come down here, select it, and then right click and so on and so forth. I won't walk you through all the different things that I could do. I could also edit the clip. So there's a separate video clip editing here, and I'll show you this one. And in this video clip, you can see I can, again, select items. I can adjust volume once again. I can do a fade in, a fade out. I can trim it and so on and so forth by cutting in and out of it. But I've got the video installed here. Now, the one trick to this, because we inserted it, we've got many more capabilities there with the video to edit the video, by the way. Sorry, I'm going to delete this. You don't see the video here, okay? And the trick is, if I go into preview mode and I preview this slide, what actually happens because we went into manage narration is it's going to get inserted into the presenter box for the lesson. And of course, this may not be exactly where you want it. It's, oh, well, that's where the presenter is supposed to be. Why would we ever want that? Okay, well, this is where you do a little small trick within iSpring. So if you go into your slide properties, and for this slide, you get several options for changing. You may already know this, that you can change anytime that you want and make a sidebar disappear or go into full screen or go into a new one called maximized video, okay? And when you go into maximized video, and then I go into preview, there I have my video running, and basically I still have my contents bar here on the right, navigation bar, if you will. And again, it's a way that if you've got a video that requires significant editing, that might be a way to do it within PowerPoint and iSpring. And the other way, of course, and I'll give you the little preview on this one, is to go into Cam Pro. I've got Cam Pro here. iSpring's Cam Pro, if you have it. I have no idea why it showed up on my other window monitor. But you can also start a new project here in Cam Pro and get all the features of Cam Pro, which has a lot of video editing capabilities as well. Okay, so that was just again, I feel like that was almost like a little trick if in case you want to do a little editing, more editing to the video, and again, get that capability, and then going into maximize would be at least one way to do that. Okay, so let's go into screen recording. So screen recording, if you haven't done it through PowerPoint, it's a very handy feature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little screen recording of Microsoft Paint, one of my old-time favorite applications. Now, I'm going to close this down for now because I want to show you at least one thing with doing PowerPoint screen recording. When I go into the screen recorder of PowerPoint, sorry, guess what I did? You can go ahead and chat that one. I didn't use the screen recorder of PowerPoint, did I? I actually used the one from iSpring. So my mistake. I don't think it was my first mistake so far, but it was definitely one of the first mistakes, let's just say. Okay, so if you're using PowerPoint's screen recording tool, it's off the insert ribbon down at the end and right next to insert video, insert audio, insert a screen recording. And when I select this, starting over again, you notice that it's kind of grayed out my screen. And down here, if I wanted to start an application now at this point, just to kind of like prepare it, I have no capability of starting my MS Word or MS Paint or Excel or any other one of my tools down here. So what I have to do is I have to do a do-over, and I have to prepare a little bit in advance. And you have to prepare a little bit in advance anyway, but you have to start the application before you start doing your recording. Just an FYI. So I'm going to go ahead and start again. So I go into PowerPoint, and what I do first is I'm going to go ahead and select an area. Okay. You notice select area is really the only option that I have. There are a lot of different screen recorders that have the ability to select an application or select full screen. In this case, select area is like, choice number one and choice number one. And that's it. So not a problem. I go ahead and make a little box around here, and then I click on record, and I start my recording routine. Now, before I do this, what I forgot to do one other thing, and that's to actually, I'm going to do a screen capture before I do this, so I have something to put in. Bear with me 1 second. This is going to be kind of silly, but I'm going to go ahead and do a screen capture just of the dialog window and a little trivia. Print screen or alt print screen, by the way, for shortcut keys, can be very handy. Okay, so now I'm ready. Again, I'm going to go back to insert, screen recording, and I'm going to go ahead and select the area. And I'm ready to click record. Okay. Now, this window here is real important, the 3, 2, 1 thing, because if you don't catch what the stop recording keystrokes are, it's actually a little difficult to stop recording. So what I could do is I could pin this to Windows or whatever, and then we'll keep it active. But the trick is when I'm doing this recording, it's going to show this window. So I would have to move it first and then, or move this first. So it's a little tricky. Anyway, so the keyboard shortcut, try to pay attention to that. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my screen capture here, and then I'm going to put in a couple of shapes. So I'll put in a little pointer over here, and maybe I'll change colors of the pointer, and then I'll put in another, well, let's put in a circle. And so the circle is going to go right there, and then I think I'm done with my screen capture. So I happen to remember that it was Control Shift and Q, Windows Shift and Q to quit recording. All right, and I have my screen recording all done. All right, I do recommend trying to dock that window for PowerPoint Screen Recorder because it also allows you to do a pause. All right, so and that can be a handy thing. So now I have my screen recording, and basically everything else is going to work just like insert video. All right, I'll make this a little bit bigger. And then if I look on playback, I have the ability to, again, start it automatically. I can trim the video. I can add bookmarks down here to add all those callouts and so on and so forth. Suffices to say, I've got a couple of callouts that are going to come in anyway, right, at different points in the video. So perhaps I don't need very much here in terms of other objects, but it's going to play perfectly fine. And then in terms of other options, you've got the ability to adjust the volume. One nice thing with audio, um, I don't always do the best like first take of both doing the walkthrough of whatever I'm recording plus the audio because there's stammering and stuttering and it's really ugly. Okay, because PowerPoint does not have the audio editing capability here and the trimming is a little bit clunky, I'd highly recommend thinking about if you really don't like the audio the way it came out, just mute the audio here, and then you can go in. I'd recommend actually using a different tool such as Audacity. If you haven't, started with iSpring to start with, but recording the audio again and then just doing an insert audio over here, and you could actually even record audio. So I could record audio, and I would get a little playback button. And if you haven't done record audio out of PowerPoint before, it's a fairly simple tool. You click on the record button. It's actually fairly primitive, and it goes through and it does the recording. And when you click on the stop button, it's going to stop, and it's going to produce a little icon for you that's going to show you that this is the recording. Except where did it go? There it is. Oh boy. Kind of hidden. Very hidden. All right, so again, you have to fight PowerPoint a little bit with functionality potentially and just features as well. So this will work though. So if you have your audio recorded now, you've got one additional problem. I'll let you think about that for 1 second. So I'm gonna have to go back in here to playback, and hopefully you're kind of guessing what in your own mind the problem is. Problem is that it's not gonna start automatically. So the video would start, in this case, the screen recording, but this would not. And so again, roll it. Now I've got video and the audio is muted, and I've got the audio and the audio is gonna start automatically. It'll work. Not beautiful, but it'll work. Okay. Questions? I know it's 12:45. I'm going to there's a lot of features inside Cam Pro. I won't get to all the features, but I want to show you also the iSpring side of screen recording.
So far, so good. I think you can keep going.
Awesome. Okay, now again, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I won't even preview that one. Probably not worth it. I think it's sufficient to say that that it would work. It would be fine. Now let's go over to iSpring and take a look at iSpring screen recording capabilities. So if I go into the screen recording tool inside of iSpring, um, you can see I start off with iSpring Cam Pro, and is it going to be a new recording or a new project? I could start this automatically. I don't have to start it within PowerPoint, but in this case, I just started it within PowerPoint. And when I click on new recording, I get a little bit more sophisticated interface here. First of all, I get the recording that has several different options here. So I can do a recording with the screen itself, which is great. I can do it with a camera or screen and camera. So I'm going to put you through some pain, and I'm going to actually have my, again, face in the recording as I go through. And here I can do full screen. I can do an application or the screen area. I'm going to stick with the screen area, and I'll adjust that. Um, the presets, are for different areas or whatever, and I'm just doing the custom size in this case, so I'll stick to that. And then your microphone setting and so on and so forth. Oh, and then the options. So this is kind of nice. Before you start, they say, would you like to change the quick keys or whatever for start and stop and pause, uh, which is, darn nice of them. And also the devices, if you want to adjust those before you get started with everything. So I also have the ability, by the way, to start applications. So if I actually thought, oh, well, starting to do something on Excel, I better launch Excel, or if I haven't started MS Paint yet, I can start MS Paint at that point. In this case, I have MS Paint all started, and actually, nicely enough, I'm not going to save that. Nicely enough, it'll also allow me to, I just press Control N to start a new MS Paint window. So I'm allowed to basically set my environment any way that I want after I've already started my screen recorder. And it really is nice because there's always something that I forget to set up the environment. Like, oh no, I wanted that window to be a little bigger. I wanted to start this application or whatever it was. So once you get everything started, click on the record button and you get the 3, 2, 1, and you notice that I had the F10 button as the stop recording button, but I've also got this window down here, and I can click on pause at any time and then continue if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that screen again, and then we'll go through here, and I'll put in maybe a little arrow one more time, change the color. Yeah, that looks good. And then do we want a circle? Potentially, let's change shapes. I don't know, that's really not a normal shape, but again, I'm just trying to do an example of a screen recorder. Okay, when I'm done with the screen recorder, click on stop, press F10, and guess what? I've already got a feature in here that's much better and much handier than the PowerPoint feature. So adding annotations will basically say for every click that I made or everything that I did, iSpring's automatically going to throw an annotation on there. Okay, and I can come in here and customize the annotations if I want. Maybe I don't like the background color and I need the background color to be more orangish or more, I don't know. You can choose whatever you want, and I'm probably doing a horrible job at colors. Not my strong suit, I have to admit. So I can go ahead and customize those annotations, click on continue, and you'll notice when I go through, let me get to a point where I've actually got some annotations. So I'll click along. Oh, and there's my annotation. Okay, so I see my first annotations was to click inside the pane. Okay, so either A, you know what, I don't like that. Let me go ahead and delete it. Or B, let me go to the next annotation and I'll just click along and press Control V. I may want to say click Control V because that's our standard or something like that, and make it a little bit bigger. I can uh, basically do a number of things with the annotations. I can go through all of my annotations, and if it doesn't say what I want it to say, very easy just to double click on it, change it on the fly, put your own words, put it into your own words, and so on and so forth. Um, and then the video itself, there's many different options. In fact, I have a checklist over here of just what do I want to show. So the first thing is I'll show the two main ribbons up here at the top. Um, so I have under options, I've got the ability to crop this if I wanted to. I can go into transparency. I can change the volume if I'd like from 100%. You know what? I had the microphone way too close. I'm going to change it across the board to 75%. And if you notice down here, once I press enter, it didn't change enough, but it'll change the volume of my audio track automatically there. I can do video borders and video effects. I'm not sure if that's real critical. Um, and then if I come over here um, to the home ribbon, on top of this, again, I can record audio on top of this. So if I don't like the audio track, I can come down here to the audio track and basically just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take out the audio track. If I right click over here, I can basically mute it if I want or change it if I want. And then in some cases, let me stick to recording the audio track, and I can record audio tracks and I record video tracks on top of this. Insert video, insert audio, um, many different options. I love this one too. So off of the properties option, you've got the ability to not show the mouse cursor. And I'm a real nervous mouse person, and I really try hard when I'm doing the screen recordings to not be juggling my mouse. I know the rule, but I find sometimes that without the mouse movement at all, I can still tell the clicks, and I can still basically with the annotation have that mouse movement go away. And so I find that to be actually very handy. Now, the ones that really may make a big impact for you are the ones such as clipping. So in the middle, I didn't like what I said. Okay, well, just grab the timeline and select that area that you didn't like, and then click on delete. Okay, and now I've got that little section deleted. All right, I can also put my cursor at any point in this, and I can say, okay, you know what, I don't want this section, or after I get done with this section, I want to delete it, and I want to go on to a different section. I can come in here, and where the cursor is, I can click on split. Okay, and now when I split this, okay, the nice part is when I decide, okay, I just want to now start further on down the road. So I'm going to take off 5 seconds. I'm going to start further in. Okay, I can either just put that in, or if it's really not a smooth transition from the end of this to the beginning, you just overlap it. And if you overlap this, I don't know if anybody's played with this, but it just automatically fades. It fades out, it fades in into the new area, which means, okay, if I'm going from one screen to another screen, and I basically had to do some splitting and changing, it's going to do that transition. Oh, and by the way, if that transition isn't quite enough for you, I can come in here to transition effects, okay? And guess what? I have a million different transition effects. So if I want basically this little demo to kind of like transition over and have it do a little wedge effect, just click and drag it, okay? And now it's going to basically do a transition with a little wedge effect. So I know I'm probably short selling this tool, but I see it's $12.55 or basically 5 minutes before the end. And I did want to allow a little bit of time for other questions. I'll wrap up with one thing here. Looking at my list because there's just so many different features that CamPro has um, that really, as an instructional designer, you're going to want to have a variety of different tools because things aren't going to go perfect when you do the recordings. The last thing that I would throw out is when you export to MP4, okay, when you try to get a video or to publish this, okay, first of all, it's fair to say that um, PowerPoint itself now has a lot of different options for saving. Okay, um, it'll allow you to save in many, many different formats, and this is to their credit. They're doing a wonderful job at doing this. MP4 is an option to save, but it's pretty much just save this as MP4 and then save it as MP4. Okay, you may already know this by now, but if you go into iSpring's Publish feature, either through, again, the PowerPoint interface or through CamPro, and you just decide to publish through CamPro, uh, you get the option to publish to the cloud. You get the option to publish to iSpring Learn, uh, to an LMS, to your computer, and then you can publish to a video format. If you publish to a video format, you can use the original size, you can do different size, you get options for different quality, which will make a big impact on the size of the video. You don't have to publish all the slides, you can just publish some slides. Um, and you'll get a much better output with the options that you have out of iSpring also. And that's actually equally important to well, almost as important as the number of features that you'd have inside of it. Okay, I know I was rambling quite a bit there. I think that's about it. Questions?
Thanks a lot, Mark. Really appreciate your doing this session, and I think that our today's attendees found out some great tips for them to use in their future content creation. And actually, I would like to ask you guys, how did you find this webinar session? What did you like about it? What you didn't like about it? Your feedback is very much appreciated. It will help us a lot in future preparation for our next sessions. And right now, I think we will spend about maybe 7 to 10 minutes for Q&A if we still have some questions unanswered, but I know that Anna has been doing a really great job taking care of them in the comment section. And while you're sending your questions in, I would like to take a moment to share a couple of news with you guys. So first of all, this news is going to be awesome for anyone who is planning to purchase iSpring. So right now there's a special promotion running for purchasing multi-seat licenses. And another thing that's very important is that starting from July 1st, we will be offering iSpring Suite as a subscription. So basically, this is the last chance to get a lifetime license. If you guys are interested in the special, please let me know in the chat box and we will get back to you after the webinar. Another thing that I wanted to share with you, and for this purpose, let me quickly share my screen. I would like to invite you to our next webinar that will be held next Thursday, June 20th. It will be dedicated to how to beat writer's block and consistently create unique training scripts. I am sharing the link to this webinar in the chat right now, so you're welcome to sign up for it. And the presenter will be Andrew Berry from Curious Lion. Last time he did a webinar for iSpringers, everyone just loved it. And this session is going to be no exception. I got a sneak peek into it, and I can tell that it's going to be very, very interactive. So, what you can do right now is you can prepare what kind of e learning or training course you're going to create. Bring the real example to the session, and we will discuss it during this webinar. I'm very much excited for it, and I hope that you guys will join us next week. And Okay, I think right now we can get down to the actual questions. And first of them, I would like to give you the presenter rights back, Mark. And if you could
Okay.
please show us just one more time how to separate audio and video clip in iSpring, um,
Ah, yes.
that would be
So,
great. Hmm.
yep. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and open up my iSpring lesson. I think I went into the wrong area. Hold on one second. So what I want to do here is click on the screen recording. There we go. Oh, and I also, by the way, forgot for this video portion or whatever that you see in the corner over here, if you decide that this is way too big or in the wrong position and it, whatever, you can move this wherever, you can resize it to whatever, and so on and so forth. That's another really handy clip. So within here, and what you've got within the capabilities of the right mouse click within the video is you've got off of the audio track selection, separate audio and video, okay? And so when you do that, I wind up with several different clips over here. Whoops, over here. And you're filling up basically your area down at the bottom here with not only the audio, but also the video, and then you can edit those separately if needed. Sometimes that can be a really handy thing for a variety of different things. Again, adjusting the volumes and things like that.
Thanks a lot, Mark. And there were a lot of questions about if the recording of this webinar will be available. Yes, I will be sharing it with you guys sometime tomorrow. It will be available on our website as well as on our official YouTube channel. And also, I would like to share with you our dedicated section for just solely webinars where you can sign up for any future sessions or watch the previous ones at your own pace. I think this will be very helpful. Share the link in the chat so you are more than welcome to go and check it out. Okay, so at this point, I think we only have comments and feedback about this webinar, which is awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for sharing. Some people said that this webinar could be broken into two parts. And some people said that we should show more of iSpring and a little bit less of PowerPoint. But I personally
Ah,
think, as well as a couple of other people in the audience, that this actually shows the comparison shows it better, gives a better demonstration.
yeah, and Polina, we probably could mention that there are a lot of different tutorials
Mhm.
and webinar sessions that are around all the different Cam Pro capabilities. So if somebody wants a little bit more detail on Cam Pro, they definitely should look at the tutorials that are out there and then maybe some of the other webinars.
Yeah, sure. If you are interested in any of the tutorials on any part of iSpring, I would definitely recommend you check out our support section that can be also found on our website, but I will be sharing it in the chat right now. So you guys, I mean, there you can find all different helpful materials on any product section. So tutorials, blog articles, docs and etc. And also our support team is always happy to assist you guys with any questions that you may have.
Yep,
Okay. So Jail says, agreed, the comparison is valuable. The topics can always be expanded on into ads, session, all would be valuable. Thank you very much for sharing.
great, great. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in today. And Alice is actually interested. If you are inserting a long video and you want learners to be able to go to bookmarked content, how would you do that?
Let's see. So that's a good question. I probably have to look into that. I may split the videos into separate slides. Um, I think that might be, I'd have to think about the best way to do that. It's a great question. Um, my first instinct is to split the video into separate slides and to have some sort of control panel that basically said, okay, here's your basic um, video, and then maybe on the right side or the top you can put tabs to advance to certain sections, and it would actually flip over to maybe a separate slide that would have a separate video on it. I think that's what I would do.
Okay.
That's the first thing I would try. Good
Thank
question.
you very much. Yeah, thanks, Alice. Okay, so at this point, I think we can wrap up because we've covered all the questions. And all you guys who are interested in our special offer and send your details in the chat, we will get back to you after the webinar. No worries. And yeah, I would like to thank all of you guys for tuning in today and for being so active. That's always a great pleasure to hold such webinars. And of course, to you, Mark, for doing such a wonderful job and showing us all those little details and sharing your expertise. Thanks a lot.
Oh, sure, my pleasure. Thank you.
And thanks to Anna for helping us with the questions. Okay, so hope everyone has a wonderful day and we'll see you at our next webinar. Link is in the chat. You still have a moment to go and sign up for it. Okay, bye guys. Bye Mark. Bye Anna.
Bye, everyone.